Good day. This is the 5th video tutorial on the Designer program. Let's take a look at the Position Protection Cube. It is designed to automatically protect open trades using stop loss and take profit. Enter the palette and select a cube. At input, the cube receives data about the trade to be protected. The output is data of orders that were set by one of the protective strategies. In the cube settings, the take profit value is set and the stop loss value. The cube operation mechanism is as follows. In the take profit value, the user sets the desired price or the percentage of growth in the asset value, at which he is ready to sell and make a profit. In the stop loss value, he sets the asset price value at which he is ready to close the position in case of a decrease in the asset value. Thus, he fixes profits and reduces losses. That is, the cube makes trades for the asset sale in case of meeting the set values. Let's remove the cube and see how it works using a strategy example. Let's build a strategy. The trade execution condition is as follows. If the difference between the closing price and the opening price is greater than 1, then we buy. Sell through the Position Protection Cube. We need to find out the opening and closing prices and find their difference. The opening price and closing price can be found using the Converter Cube, which decomposes the candle cube into its components. To find the difference, we will use the Formula Cube, in which we set the arithmetic expression. Comparing the difference with a value of 1 at the output of the Comparison Cube, we get the signal. If the comparison conditions are met, then the Comparison Cube will send a signal to the Trade Registration Cube, which will buy. The sale will be carried out through the Position Protection Cube. In it, we will set the stop loss and take profit values that are needed. If the price meets the set values, our strategy will be automatically sell. Thus, it will protect our profits or reduce possible losses. For this strategy, take cubes, variable, candles, and chart panel. In order to find out the opening and closing prices, we will use the Converter Cube. This cube will extract the necessary data from the Candle Cube. To do this, in the first cube settings, in the Data Type properties, we will specify the opening price. Now this cube will have the candle opening price as its output. In the second cube, similarly, set the received value of the closing price. Now the second cube at the output will have the candle closing price value. To determine the difference between two prices, we will use the formula block with two arguments. We will send the values of the closing and opening prices to the input. In the cube settings, we will specify the formula for calculating the difference between the two prices, A and B. Now the difference between the closing price and the opening price is passed to the cube output. Let's use the variable cube. It will be a constant against which the price difference will be compared. Set the numerical value 1 in the cube settings. We also connect the cube trigger with the candle cube to pass the signal through the schema. To compare the values of the price difference and constant 1, select the Comparison Cube. It will compare the values according to the selected condition, and the value will be generated as its output, true or false, depending on fulfillment of the condition. Set the comparison sign in the cube settings. If the condition is met, then at the cube output, the true value will be generated, passed to the trigger of the Buy Cube. Select a Position Registration Cube. Connect sockets. Select two variable cubes. One of the cubes will carry information about the volume, the second about the portfolio on which trades are held. So, let's specify in the settings of the first cube the numeric data type, and the value is 1. In the settings of the second, select the portfolio data type and specify the simulator value. Let's connect with the Order Registration Cube. In the settings of the Order Registration Cube, we will specify the trade direction, buy, and the market price. To display and receive data on all orders in the strategy, select the Orders Cube. We connect it through the output socket of the Order Registration Cube. Now, at the cube output, information about all orders is generated. Let's display this information on the chart. To perform the Position Protection function, we will use the cube of the same name in our strategy. Select it from the palette and adjust the necessary parameters. This cube receives information about orders from the Strategy Trades cube. Let's set the stop loss and take profit values. Set the take profit value as follows. If the price increases by 2%, then we sell shares, thereby fixing the profit. If the price goes down and its decrease reaches 3%, then we sell the shares. That is, we reduce the risks. By setting values in the position protection cube, we set a fixed profit level, and at the same time, we protect ourselves from an excessive, in our opinion, fall in prices. Select the Strategy Trades cube and connect it with the Position Protection cube. Display the values on the chart panel and press Start. So our strategy buys if the difference between the closing and opening prices is greater than 1, sells through the Position Protection cube when the price rises by 2% or falls by 3%. Our trades are visible on the chart. However, they are not going correctly. Stop the strategy execution. Trades must be executed as follows after the buy is made. The next buy should take place only after the sale. That is, the activation of the Position Protection cube. A flag must be provided for this sequence, which will be raised until the buy is made, after which it will be lowered. Subsequent flag raising, and therefore buy, will be possible after sale. That is, after triggering the Position Protection cube. We will use the variable cube as a flag, to which we will assign the flag data type, and with a tick, set the true value in the data type properties. Now, to make a buy, 2 conditions must be met, so that the difference between the closing and opening prices is greater than 1, and that the flag is raised, that is, to pass the true value. To check the fulfillment of these conditions, select the logic cube, which will check the fulfillment of both conditions, and we connect the sockets of cubes. Remove the extra connection. Assign AND operator in the logic cube. If the condition for the price difference and the condition of the raised flag are met, a buy signal will be given from the logic cube. In this case, the logic cube must give a signal to change the flag value from true to false. Let's do this using the variable cube. Assign the flag data type and set the value to false by unchecking the checkbox. Connect it to the logic cube through the trigger, to which the signal will be sent to overwrite the flag value. Thus, the flag will be lowered and no buy will be made. Now, when the conditions to buy are met, the flag will be lowered. The flag will be raised after the Position Protection cube triggered, that is, the sale. In order to pass the value for raising the flag, select the variable cube. Set the flag data type and true value by setting the appropriate checkbox. Now, in the case of a Position Protection cube triggered, it will send a signal to the variable cube trigger, which in turn will pass the true value to the flag, thereby raising it. Now, if the condition to buy and the raised flag match, then the buy is carried out and the flag is lowered, and the next buy is possible after the sale is made, and thus the flag is raised. Click on Start and check how the strategy works now. Now the strategy is trading correctly, and every buy trade is followed by a sell trade. Let's stop the strategy and move on to the next part. Sometimes in the market, in order to avoid losses, a trader needs to reverse a position. Position reversal, opening a trade at the moment of fixing a loss on a previous position, but in the opposite direction. For example, if you had a buy deal and the market began to fall down, then a person can close the loss and immediately open a new position, but already for sale. That is, make a double volume trade. Let's create a schema with which a double volume trade is executed. For it, you need to know the position size at the time of trades. It can be found using the position cube. It is important to check that the position is not equal to 0. Respectively, the schema must check this criterion. In this case, the schema must pass the specified volume. If the position is not 0, then a double volume trade is feasible, and the position must not be negative. So, it is necessary to bring its value to absolute, and only then double it, and make a trade with this volume. So take a position cube. It is necessary to set an instrument and a portfolio to pass data to the sockets of the position cube. Select 2 variable cubes. In the settings of the first, set the data type, instrument. In the settings of the second, set the data type, portfolio. And in the properties, we specify the portfolio, the simulator, which will be traded. To check that the position size is not equal to 0, you need the following. Take the variable cube and assign it a value of 0. In order to compare the position size values with 0, we need two comparison cubes. One cube will check the option if there is equality, the second its absence. And everyone will send signals to execute the order if the condition is met. In the settings of the first, set the check sign not equal. That is, the position size is not equal to 0. That is, we trade with a double volume. In the settings of the second, set the check sign equal. That is, the position size is 0. Trade with the specified volume. Select a variable cube, and in its settings, set a numerical value 1. This cube will pass the specified position volume if the current position size is 0, after receiving a signal from the comparison cube. Select the variable cube and pass the position size value to it. It will also pass the value after the signal from the comparison cube, in which the condition not equal to 0 is checked. To calculate the absolute value of a position, select a formula cube with one argument. And in the settings, assign a formula to calculate the absolute value. Now this cube will bring the received position value to the absolute value. To increase the position twice. Choosing a formula cube. And in the settings, we specify the formula, the argument multiplied by 2. Now this cube receives the absolute value of the position, and at the output, it gives the position value doubled. Select an auto registration cube. Take the variable cube, which will receive the position volume value that needs to be traded. Connect it to formula cubes, which pass double position size and a variable cube with position volume 1. Connect it to the auto registration cube. Select all. And move the schema. Let's see how the schema works using the strategy example from Lesson 3. Let's load the strategy from Lesson 3. Select the schema and copy it. Close the strategy and go to our schema. Select our schema and move it down for convenience. Paste the copied strategy. Remove duplicate and unnecessary cubes, instrument, portfolio, and volume. Connect sockets. Now, if the closing price of the previous candle is higher than the closing price of the current, then we make a trade. For ease of perception, let's line up the cubes. Set up the instrument and run the strategy. As you can see, the strategy built a candle chart and indicated the trades that take place in the strategy. Let's run a strategy backtest and see if the double volume position schema works correctly. Specify a breakpoint on the sell cube trigger and click on Start. Check the values on sockets. On sockets, the value is true, and on the position socket, the value is 0. So the sale must be on volume equal to 1. Click on Start. A trade has appeared with a volume of 1. Again, we check the sockets of cubes. On the sell cube socket, true. On the comparison cube socket, true. On the position cube socket, -1. So the next trade must be with volume 2. Let's check. Click on Start. A trade with a volume of 2 appeared on the chart. Similarly, we check the next iteration. On position socket, value -3. Click on Start. Check the trade volume. It is equal to 6. Thus, we can say that the strategy works, even in the case of a non-zero position value, makes trades with double volume. That's all. Thanks. Goodbye.